Educating our nation's children is the priority of educators across the United States. English language learners, or ELLs, are the fastest growing segment of our school population. Currently, approximately 6 million ELLs are enrolled in public schools, representing an increase of over 100% since 1991. In the following video, you will meet Sasha Abreu. Ms. Abreu's classroom is a third-grade inclusive class with students from diverse backgrounds. She has 4 ELLs. Watch for Ms. Abreu's use of visual aids and vocabulary building techniques as strategies she uses to support English language learning.
I'm Sasha Abreu, and I teach 3rd grade at this school, which is a multicultural school, very diverse school. I've been teaching for 8 years. And I'm fluent in English and Spanish, and I know a little bit of French and Portuguese. In this particular math block, I have 18 students. 4 are English language learners. I have about 4 that are ESC, special education, and I have probably 4 that have attention deficit as well. And so it's a really diverse group. I have all ability levels and all accommodation levels. So in this particular class, I have 4 language learners. One is from Nigeria, and they just arrived to the United States in August. And she knows very little English, so she's really just emerging right now, using one-word responses and very short phrases. Another one is from Brazil, and she also arrived in August. And she's also at the emergent level. And then I have another one that's from Puerto Rico, and he's been here about a year. So he's already past that stage of one phrase responses, and he's kind of low intermediate now. Depending on the subject matter, he'll use more language or not. And then my 4th one has been here since kindergarten. And she's really just at the cusp of her language development. She still has a little bit of issues with conjugation and word usage and that, but she's really almost, I would say almost proficient. Our math block is an hour and 10 minutes. You will see an introduction to fractions, and it's really the basis, the foundation for fractions. So we will be talking about the need for fraction as a type of number that doesn't exist in their repertoire, in their agenda. They don't know this number yet. We also will cover some important vocabulary, unknown words, and we'll cover even word parts to help them differentiate and even build meaning for the vocabulary. We'll work on drawing fractions and naming fractions. So, the goal of the lesson is for students to differentiate a whole number from a fraction, to be able to really know about equal groups and how you divide the whole into equal parts, and then that's where you start building onto fractions. In this lesson, I'm going to start by setting the purpose and trying to hook and engage the students. So what I use is a real-world application. For me, math is all about real world. It's all about how you're going to use it when you grow up, when you get a job. So it really engages them because they see that there's a genuine need for it. We use the pizza at the beginning to represent that, real-life situation.
I want to make you think. So, you know how I always told you that math is about real world, right? This is not just about learning pluses and minuses. It's really about becoming a problem solver. So, I'm going to tell you, why do we even have this thing called fractions? So, I'm going to start with a real world problem. You know Miss Huffman, she bought a pizza. I know, my pizza, you would have really liked if it were a real one. And she wants to share it with 7 of her friends. How can she share it? So I'm going to have to stop and think. Well, I found Miss Hoffman. That's one person.
After that, I'm going to go through essential or important vocabulary that I think is going to really create the foundation for the lesson, even for future lessons. We'll go over and naming the equal groups, and this is still vocabulary development, but we're going to kind of do it together. I'll model a few, try to see if they can see the pattern, and they'll try to do a few on their own.
These are some key words. Okay? Equal equal groups on your whiteboard for me? Equal groups. Write the word equal groups on your whiteboard. Okay? Equal groups. And this is very important for today's lesson. Equal groups are parts that are exactly the same size. What if Miss Hoffman cut her pizza slices in different sizes? What would her friends think? Sophia, what would her friends think? That's not fair. You know what? I would think, oh, does she like that person more because she gave him a bigger piece? Does she like me less because she gave me less? It's silly, but in fractions, it must be. Please write next to equal groups, exactly the same. Exactly the same size. Perfect. Now, you might say, wow, that's a big requirement. But you know, when we draw it out, your drawing doesn't have to be perfect because we're not perfect, but they should be as close to equal groups. And let's draw a picture of something divided equally. I'm going to be honest with you, I use bars. Bars are easier to draw. So go ahead and let's cut this one exactly in the middle. Okay? And give yourself a check mark right next to it. Okay? This is equal groups, okay? Could you draw me on the board a group that is not equal? Draw me one here that is not equally into two groups. Is that equal? Are those equal? Yeah, so I want one that is not equal, the opposite. Okay, this is equal. I want not equal. Not equal. Ooh, go ahead and do it up there. You got this. I love Aminatu. She really did something totally different. Go ahead and do yours. That's acceptable. That's very good. That's correct. Derek put his line there. You know what? Let me show you something Aminatu did. Aminatu went outside the box. And she did this. Is that exactly the same? That is correct. So put an X. These are non-examples. Okay? All right, let's go. We're only going to cover a few words at a time, all right? The next important word is, guess what? Fractions. Erase your board now and write the word fractions on it. I love it how everybody's focused and just on task. Fractions is a number. It's actually a number. It's a new kind of number. You're learning new numbers. You were eager to learn about fractions, negatives. All those are new kinds of numbers. So fraction is actually a type of number that names part of the whole. Part of a whole. Now this one, I really was thinking about this one. Whole. What is a whole? I thought, is that like a hole in my pants? Yes. Is a fraction a part of the hole in my pants or a hole in the ground? Do you think that's what it is? Oh, so what do I mean by hole? Does that mean she's going to have a hole in her pizza? Maya, what is it going to be?
It's like, I can't explain it. I have it in my head, but I can't.
You know, that happens to a lot of.
A piece of like a pizza, for example.
So it's a whole, but what is whole? Then I always state the essential question, which is really the objective in student-friendly terms. We're going to go and examine our essential question. Remember, we always want to know, what are we learning today? This is what we're learning, Anna. So you need to focus on the essential question because we always have to answer it at the end. Could you read me the essential question, Taylor?
Essential question. What are the equal parts of a whole?
Could you do me a favor? And you know Derek, he loves to remind us about this. Would you do me a favor and go ahead and put a star next to your essential question? That is our focus for today's lesson. Put a star. Let's answer it. Well, we know that we have to have equal parts of a whole. Okay, those are our key words. Who wants to come up and erase our essential question is down the dotted line? All right, go ahead, Abby. And you're going to write this down a minute too in your book. Yes, with the magic eraser. All right, read it for me, Taylor.
Equal parts are parts that are exactly the same.
All right, would you go ahead and write that down? Equal parts are parts that are exactly the same. Write that in. Exactly the same. Kind of like Sebastian and his twin brother. He looks exactly like Diego, doesn't he, Anna?
Yeah.
They're exactly the same. But I've gotten the secret. I can tell them apart. How? It's a secret. Miss Hoffman and I have worked on it. Yeah, we usually go by their shirts. But exactly means like exactly. Could you put your hands out? This is exactly. This is different. Exactly the same. Your hands are exactly the same. Okay? Put your hands down. All right, let's move on. I hope you got your essential question written in. Could you do me a favor now and do 6? What are you going to call 6 equal groups? Draw me a picture and write the word. Draw me a picture and write the word. 6 equal groups. Six equal groups. I love it when people are raising their hands and just really being great. Are those equal groups? Try a bar. Try the rectangle. All right, let me see. All right, now what do you think 6 is going to be called? We have thirds, fourths, fifths. What do you think 6 is going to be called?
The circle's more done.
Now, okay, think about it. Think about it. It's a pattern. I want you to get the pattern. All right, you've got the pattern. Sebastian, have you thought of the word? Count these for me.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, and what is the word going to be?
6.
Can you write it down for me? Excellent. All right, 3, 2, 1, showdown. If you, you did. Thank you, Anna. I'm glad you tried. If you put 6, you are correct. 2 stars. And if you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, give yourself 2 stars. You could do a circle. Some of you were able to do a circle successfully, and that's impressive. So as I reflect on the lesson, I can really tell that the students were highly engaged. They really understood there was a purpose for fractions and there was a real-life application. I really thought that they were becoming familiar with the vocabulary, but I didn't really feel that they mastered it yet. I really am going to follow up with another lesson and maybe let them do it independently now. I modeled a lot and we did it together. But in terms of unequal groups, I'm going to expand that again, and they're going to try it now with more parts to the whole. And so I could know if they know how to name it and how to really identify and even draw out now the equal groups.
As you reflect on what you have just seen in Miss Abreu's classroom, can you answer the following questions? How does Miss Abreu build vocabulary in the lesson for her ELLs? What did not work in the lesson and how will she resolve it?